When someone disrespects you, it stings, it catches you off guard, and in that split second, you feel the heat rise. Your ego wants to fight back, defend itself, maybe even get revenge. But here's the truth. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to take it personally. It's natural to feel hurt, angry, or even embarrassed. But the truth is, their behavior is a direct reflection of them, not you. The way someone chooses to speak to you, treat you, or belittle you reveals more about their inner world than anything about your character or value. Disrespect often comes from a place of insecurity, pain, fear, or frustration. People who are whole, confident, and grounded do not go around tearing others down. They lift people up. They treat others with kindness even when they disagree. So when someone disrespects you, try to pause and remind yourself, this isn't about me. This is about something inside them that they haven't yet healed, understood, or taken responsibility for. Think about it. People who are happy don't insult others. People who are secure don't need to make others feel small to feel tall. Disrespect is a projection. It's them offloading their frustration, their powerlessness, their wounds onto someone else because they haven't learned how to deal with it in a healthy way. You are not obligated to absorb that. You are not responsible for their lack of self-control, emotional maturity, or empathy. You are responsible for your own energy, your own reactions, and your own peace. The moment you internalize their behavior, you give away your power. You start to believe the lie that you must have done something wrong or that you are less than. But disrespect isn't truth, it's noise. It's emotional chaos looking for a place to land. Don't be that landing place. There's also an important distinction between disrespect and feedback. Feedback comes from a place of wanting to improve something or contribute to your growth. Disrespect is rooted in power, ego, and control. It's not meant to help you, it's meant to herd you or control how you feel about yourself. And once you can see it for what it really is, you gain the power to rise above it. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves a reaction. Not every battle is worth fighting. Some people just want to see you drop to their level because that's where they feel safe. Maintaining your self-respect in the face of someone else's disrespect is one of the highest forms of strength. It's not weakness to walk away, it's wisdom. When you know who you are, what you stand for, and what your values are, you don't need to engage in every confrontation. Silence sometimes is the most powerful response. And other times, a calm, firm boundary spoken with respect shows far more power than an emotional outburst. But remember, this doesn't mean you excuse the behavior. It means you don't absorb it. You handle it, but you don't let it define you. You speak up if needed. You distance yourself if necessary, but you do so with intention, not emotion, with clarity, not chaos. So when you are disrespected, let that be a signal not that something is wrong with you, but that something is unhealed or misaligned in them. That it remind you to double down on your own values, to stay grounded, and to never trade your peace for someone else's poison. Because at the end of the day, how others treat you is their story. How you respond is yours. And your story is too important to be shaped by someone who doesn't even know your worth. In life, the way we respond to situations often defines us more than the situations themselves. One of the most powerful and underrated tools we have is the ability to pause before we react. That simple moment of stillness between what happens to us and what we choose to do next can be the difference between regret and growth, between chaos and clarity. When someone disrespects you, criticizes you unfairly, or says something that triggers emotion, your first instinct might be to lash out, defend yourself, or retaliate. That's natural. It's your ego wanting to protect itself. It's the emotional brain taking control, convincing you that action must be immediate. But reacting in that split second rarely leads to a thoughtful outcome. Most of the time, it adds fuel to the fire, escalates the conflict, and leaves you feeling drained or even ashamed after the moment has passed. The pause is where your power lives. That moment, brief as it may be, is your chance to ask yourself the right questions. What is actually happening here? Why am I feeling this way? What do I really want out of this interaction? Does this deserve my energy? Am I about to react from emotion or respond with purpose? This isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about owning how you feel and choosing a response that reflects your character, not just your mood in the moment. The emotions are temporary, but consequences last. That pause helps you separate the emotion from the action. It gives you space to think, and with that space comes freedom. The freedom to choose wisdom over impulse. The freedom to walk away if needed, or to speak your truth with calmness instead of anger. When you pause, you also shift the dynamic of power. You're no longer playing by their rules. You're not reacting the way they expected. This disarms people. It shows that you're not easily shaken, not easily provoked, not willing to dance to someone else's chaotic rhythm. It shows maturity, control, and leadership. And in many cases, that calm presence is more effective than any angry comeback could ever be. Imagine a scenario where someone insults you in front of others. Your instinct might be to snap back. But if you pause, take a breath, and respond with a clear, measured voice, or even choose silence, you maintain your dignity. You don't lower yourself to their level. You show strength in a way that commands respect, not just from them, but from everyone who witnesses it. That pause also allows you to assess whether this moment even needs a response. Not everything deserves your time and attention. Sometimes no response is the response. The silence speaks volumes, especially when it's intentional. And in other cases, the pause might lead you to respond, not with anger, but with curiosity. Maybe instead of getting defensive, you ask, why do you feel that way? That kind of response shifts the energy entirely. It opens a space for understanding instead of conflict. Taking a pause doesn't mean you're weak or passive. It means you're wise enough to know that your energy is valuable, your reputation matters, and your emotions don't have to run the show. It means you're choosing the long game over the quick. You're choosing peace over pride. So the next time you feel the heat rise, the pulse quicken, and the words form in your throat, remember this. Power doesn't come from how fast you react. It comes from how deeply you choose to respond. The pause is small, but it changes everything. There's a fine but powerful line between setting boundaries and building walls. Both are responses to pain, disrespect, or repeated violations of your trust. But they serve very different purposes. Boundaries are rooted in self-respect. Walls are rooted in fear. Boundaries are conscious, intentional, and healthy. Walls are reactive, defensive, and often built to protect wounds we haven't yet healed. When someone disrespects you, setting a boundary is not just an act of self-care. It's an act of emotional intelligence. A boundary says, I value myself enough to decide what is and isn't allowed in my space. It communicates your needs without needing to raise your voice. It draws a clear line not to hurt or punish the other person, but to protect your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. Boundaries don't mean you stop loving people. It means you start loving yourself the right way. On the other hand, walls often come from a place of fear. Fear of being hurt again, fear of being vulnerable, fear of repeating past experiences. And while they might give you a false sense of safety, they also keep out connection, intimacy, and growth. Walls shut everything out. Boundaries let the right things in. The challenge is learning how to stand firm without closing off, to be strong without becoming cold. When someone crosses a line, setting a boundary can be as simple as saying, I don't accept being spoken to like that, or I need space right now. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly or justify your limits. People who respect you will adjust. People who don't will resist, and that resistance reveals a lot. Someone who gets angry when you set a boundary was benefiting from your lack of one. It's important to understand that setting boundaries isn't about changing others, it's about changing how you engage with them. You can't control how someone acts, but you can control what you tolerate. You don't need to cut people off every time things get uncomfortable, but you do need to stop shrinking yourself just to keep the peace. Peace that comes at the cost of your self-respect isn't peace. It's quiet suffering. Also, boundaries aren't one size fits all. They depend on your values, your experiences, and your personal thresholds. What matters is that you're clear on what's okay and what's not okay for you. And once you're clear, consistency is key. A boundary that's not enforced is just a suggestion. The more you honor your own boundaries, the more others will too. You teach people how to treat you, not by what you say, but by what you allow. It takes courage to set boundaries, especially if you're someone who's used to pleasing others or keeping the peace at your own expense. But each time you do it, you reinforce to yourself that your needs matter, your voice matters, and your peace is worth protecting. Walls keep you safe in the short term, but lonely in the long run. Boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, but they lead to more honest relationships, better communication, and stronger self-worth. One pushes people away out of fear. The other invites healthier connection out of love. Love for yourself and for the life you're trying to build. So don't be afraid to speak up, to say no, to step back when necessary. Boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They're not about making life harder, they're about making your life yours. In a world that constantly tells you to look the part, to appear composed, successful, and unaffected, it's easy to fall into the trap of protecting your image instead of protecting your energy. We're conditioned to care deeply about how we're perceived, to prove ourselves, to look unbothered, to maintain an identity that pleases others. But the truth is, image is external. Energy is internal. And no image is worth maintaining if it comes at the cost of your peace. Protecting your image means trying to look strong even when you're exhausted, pretending you're okay when you're not, smiling through disrespect to avoid conflict. It means saying yes when your body is screaming no just so you don't disappoint anyone. It means tolerating situations that drain you because walking away might make you look bad. But at what cost? Your energy is your life force. It's the fuel behind your focus, your creativity, your presence. If you spend all your time defending your image, your energy gets depleted, and eventually so does your joy. People may admire your image, but they're impacted by your energy. You can walk into a room looking perfect on the outside, but if your spirit is tired, disconnected, and resentful, people feel that. Authenticity has a frequency, and you can't fake it for long. The most powerful presence doesn't come from looking untouchable. It comes from being real. It comes from being honest with yourself about what nourishes you and what drains you, and then making decisions that align with that truth, even if others don't understand. Protecting your energy means choosing rest over hustle when your body needs it. It means removing yourself from conversations that feel heavy, draining, or disrespectful, even if staying would have saved your reputation in someone else's eyes. It means walking away from relationships where you constantly have to shrink or prove your worth. There's a moment that exists between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. In that moment lies your power. The power to decide whether you react from emotion or respond with purpose. Emotions are natural, human, and valid, but when they take the wheel, they can lead us to say or do things we later regret. Purpose, on the other hand, is steady. It's rooted in clarity, intention, and self-awareness. When you respond with purpose instead of emotion, you protect your integrity, preserve your energy, and take control of your own narrative. Life will challenge you. People will offend you, underestimate you, ignore you, or try to provoke you. And in those moments, your emotions will flare up. Anger, frustration, sadness, pride, they'll all try to speak first. But if you allow every feeling to dictate your next move, you hand your power over to the situation. You become reactive, impulsive, and often misaligned with who you truly want to be. Responding with purpose doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you honor them, pause, and then ask yourself a deeper question. What is the outcome I want here? That question changes everything. If your goal is to be heard, yelling may not serve that. If your goal is to maintain peace, proving a point might not be worth the energy. If your goal is to grow, staying curious rather than defensive might bring more clarity. Purpose pulls you back from reacting blindly and guides you toward responding wisely. Consider a moment when someone disrespects you publicly. Your emotional brain wants justice. It wants to fire back. It wants to remind them and everyone else who they're dealing with. But your purpose may want something different. Maybe your purpose is to be a leader, to be composed, to stay in alignment with your values. In that case, responding with purpose might look like calmly stating your boundary, then maybe it's silence. Because not every jab deserves your attention. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. When you respond with purpose, you protect your peace and preserve your energy. You begin to act from a higher level of thinking rather than a lower level of reaction. It's easy to clap back. It takes strength to stay grounded. It's easy to get triggered. It takes self-control to stay intentional. And the more you practice it, the more powerful you become, not just in how you handle conflict, but in how you shape your life. People will often try to provoke a reaction because it gives them control. But when you don't bite, when you don't let them push your buttons, you're showing them something stronger than anger. You're showing them presence. You're showing them that you're not at the mercy of anyone else's behavior. You're grounded in your own purpose. This applies not only to conflict, but to everyday situations. Criticism at work, disagreements with loved ones, unexpected setbacks. And if you always respond emotionally, your life becomes a roller coaster of reactions. But if you commit to responding with purpose, you create consistency, confidence, and clarity. Every response is a choice. Every word you say is a message about who you are. Let your words reflect your wisdom, not your wounds. Let your actions be shaped by vision, not vengeance. When your emotions run high, breathe, pause, and return to your center. Ask yourself, what would the strongest, most grounded version of me do right now? Because when you learn to respond with purpose, you're not just avoiding unnecessary conflict, you're building character. You're leading yourself. You're choosing growth over ego. And that, more than any reaction, is what leads to real power, peace. Disrespect is never easy to experience. It can catch you off guard, sting deeply, and stir up emotions you thought you had under control. But what if, instead of reacting impulsively or internalizing the insult, you viewed it as a mirror? Not a mirror of who you are, but of who they are, and even more powerfully, of what within you still needs healing, understanding, or attention. When someone disrespects you, it often says more about their character than your worth. A person at peace with himself doesn't go out of their way to tear others down. Disrespect can reveal someone's insecurity, need for control, or unresolved anger. But it can also reflect something in you. A boundary you haven't set, a fear you haven't faced, or a pattern you've ignored. That doesn't make the disrespect okay, but it gives you a choice to use the moment as a weapon against yourself or as a mirror for your growth. The mirror doesn't lie, but it also doesn't shout. It quietly reflects what's already present. If someone's words shake you, ask yourself why. Is it because what they said touched an old wound? Did it echo something you secretly fear might be true? Or is it because you've tolerated similar behavior before and now your spirit is finally saying enough? Using disrespect as a mirror means asking deeper questions. What part of me still needs validation? Why do I need this person's approval to feel okay about myself? Why did I stay silent when I should have spoken up? Why did I overreact when I could have let it go? These questions aren't about blame, they're about awareness. And awareness is the first step to transformation. You don't have control over how people treat you, but you do have control over what you take in and what you let pass. You have the power to turn a disrespectful moment into a moment of clarity. Maybe it shows you where you need stronger boundaries. Maybe it reveals a relationship you've outgrown. Maybe it's the nudge you needed to stop tolerating behavior that chips away at your self-respect. Whatever it is, if you pay attention, there's always a message. There's also the opportunity to reflect on how you show up. Are there ways you may have disrespected others, directly or indirectly? Have you dismissed someone's feelings, reacted harshly, projected your stress onto someone else? The mirror works both ways. It helps you grow, not just by defending your self-worth, but by making you a more conscious, compassionate human being. It's important to remember that using disrespect as a mirror doesn't mean you excuse bad behavior or allow toxic people to stay in your life.